What's up, citizens of Gotham? My name is Graham Elwood. All you political vigilantes out there, you're getting involved. That's the thing I say on this show, and you guys are all doing it. I say get involved on a local level. You send me information, you open my eyes up to stuff, you're all getting involved. Join some organization, join Movement for a People's Party, join the Democratic Socialists of America. Get involved. Vote with your dollars. Because we're overwhelming them. We are starting, more and more people are paying attention than they were in 2016, that's for sure. More and more people are paying attention. So, because everyone's realizing it's all bullshit. The New York Times. After Mueller report, news media leaders defend their work. Unbelievable. So the fallout from this thing, and people release the full report. Fine, release the full Mueller report, whatever I would ever pronounce that guy's name. It's so funny to me how Democrats and liberals were hanging their hopes on this guy that helped us get into an illegal war in Iraq. He was part of the investigation that said there was weapons of mass destruction. He was part of the problem. And then he was going to be the hero? The whole system's broken, man. Like, this two-party system is horrifying. The story had it all. Cold War-era intrigue, allegations of shadowy meetings in Moscow, and a cast of recurring characters that included an aide, a 15,000 ostrich skin jacket, Paul Manafort, and another who has a tattoo of Dick Nixon on his back, Roger Stone. But the good news is, it's not just the right. Obviously, the right is like, ha-ha, smoking gun, stop attacking Trump. The Trump supporters are having a field day with this, which, you know, I don't blame them. I don't like Trump. I wish he wasn't president, but the Democrats gave it to him. They gave it. They let Trump become president and then couldn't even admit that their own primary was rigged and had to push this ridiculous Russia thing. Meanwhile, Flint, Michigan still has contaminated water. The Dakota Access Pipeline has leaked. You know, the one that they shot water cannons at protesters on sovereign land? Remember that one? The one that Obama said, I'm going to see how this plays out? Obama let that happen. Obama let that happen. Yemen, still happening. Obama started that. Trump's making it worse, of course. So it's good that even some people on the left are starting to wake up to how much this was nonsense. Matt Taibbi, a Rolling Stone writer whose book on 2016 election is titled Insane Clown President. Not exactly a fan of Mr. Trump. And yet he called the apparent lack of new charges resulting from the Special Counsel's investigation a death blow for the reputation of the American news media. He called it this generation's WMDs. If you want to take down the whole system, you got to look in the mirror. You know, you got to look in the mirror. And if diehard Republicans don't want to look at the corruption and filth of their party, and diehard Democrats don't want to look at the corruption and filth of their party, nothing's going to change. But that's why you're here. You realize the corporate media is full of nonsense. You probably bailed on the 8,500 news stories or something. Literally, that was the number they counted. 80 stories about Russiagate in the last 2 years, 2.5 years. I mean, so here's what Glenn Greenwald had to say.
Yeah, well, speaking of CNN, by the way, first of all, Chris Cuomo said not a chance would he ever apologize last night when Giuliani brought that possibility up. He said not a chance. He ridiculed Giuliani after he left the show, which is low class. But this is what CNN's coverage looked like, just for people who haven't caught it, over the past 2 years.
I want to read the definition of treason.
Hearing a new word, right? He said it was treason, right?
We do know that Donald Trump Sr. has lied throughout this investigation.
This goes to the heart of everything we've been talking about for the last couple of years, the collusion and the cover-up.
But yesterday, Glenn, the network president, Jeff Zucker, defended the network's coverage, and he told the New York Times, quote, We're not investigators, we're journalists. And our role is to report the facts as we know them, which is exactly what we did. A sitting president's own Justice Department investigated his campaign for collusion with a hostile nation. That's not enormous because the media says so. That's enormous because it's unprecedented. Your response to his defense.
Glenn Greenwald.
Well, Jeff Zucker has no understanding of what journalism is, and all you have to do is look at the network that he runs to see that. You want to hear something so interesting, Laura? I've spent a lot of years being on CNN and MSNBC constantly. I used to get invited on all the time. Starting in 2017, when I began to express serious skepticism about their cash cow, which was this hoax, this fairy tale, this conspiracy theory that they were peddling every day, they just banned me from going on their networks. And it's not just me, it's other highly credentialed journalists who are expressing skepticism like Jeremy Scahill, Matt Taibbi, lots of other people on the left who were just banned because they wanted to deceive their audience into believing that the only ones who questioned what they were feeding them were either the Trump White House or hardcore Trump supporters. They lied not just to their audience about what really happened, but they did it on purpose to keep anybody who is questioning them off the air. They're right. They're not investigators. They're also not journalists. They're propagandists. They're fraudsters. They made lots of money lying to people and misleading people on purpose, and their entire hoax just got exposed.
Glenn, thank you very much for joining us in your continued coverage of these important issues. They go right to the heart of accountability, and we have to keep it up.
So that's Glenn Greenwald telling the head of the CNN, like, unbelievable. We're not investigators, we're journalists. They say that shit with a straight face. So what's investigative journalism? Guys, I'm not a comedian, I'm a joke teller. So stop, it's not my job to be funny. It's my job to tell jokes that get people to laugh. So stop, I mean, you guys got to really let go of that. You pushed your bullshit. I mean, it's funny he's on Fox because they push their own bullshit, but it makes such a point. Glenn Greenwald, who I don't know personally, but I love his work. I've done numerous videos on articles and subjects that he's covered, I think. But it shows you that he's an actual journalist. If Fox News wants to have him on, he'll go on Fox News. And if he wants to be critical of Trump and Fox News, he'll do it. He'll do it on Fox. He'll do it everywhere. MSNBC stopped inviting him on because he was calling out their nonsense. I mean, part of Russiagate is to push a new Cold War that defense contractors will benefit from. That's why there were segments on Rachel Maddow's show that were sponsored by Boeing. Sponsored by Boeing. Which is fantastic. It's just unbelievable. It's literally like The Onion has more integrity than CNN. I'm a comedian that's just calling out the truth. It's just simple. Lenny Bruce said all comedians, good comedians, have built-in bullshit detectors. That's what I'm doing. That's what Lee Camp, Jimmy does. That's what Tim Black, that's what we're doing. Anybody, you don't even have to be a comedian. You just have a built-in bullshit. Abby Martin. I mean, Kyle Kalinske, Ron Placone, Kim Iverson now, Stephanie Zamorano. I mean, like, how? It's unbelievable. But if we want to know, like, why they're pushing this, we know it's to ramp up the war machine and also distract everybody from the corruption of the Democratic Party, and more importantly, the fact that big oil companies buy ad time on all of these networks. So they can't really talk about climate change like the imminent disaster that it is. Fox doesn't, obviously. So what a great thing to distract people on. But the media's been doing this for a long time. You know who pointed that out? Malcolm X.
So instead of legislation, in my opinion, it takes education. The whites have to be re-educated so that the racism that they have in their heart can be eliminated, and our people have to be re-educated so that we will know how to do something for ourselves instead of waiting for others to do it for us all the time. Well, how will that re-education be brought about? Well, just as in the in World War II, this country could use its news media to propagandize and make the whole American public love the Germans and the Japanese, rather love the Russians and the Chinese and hate the Germans and the Japanese. And then after the war, they changed it and made the American public love the Germans and love the Japanese, hate the Russians and hate the Chinese, which shows that they can make the American public love whom they will and hate whom they will. And that same process can be used to re-educate the American public and show white people how to love black people and show black people how to do something to stand on our own feet and solve our own problems.
2012 presidential debate, Mitt Romney brings up Russia as a threat, and Obama says the 80s called, they want their foreign policy back. Why are you talking? Russia's not a big threat. Oh, wait a minute. Hillary loses and suddenly Russia, Putin is inside. He's inside this TV screen right now telling me that this is an earpiece. This goes right to Moscow. He's telling me what to say right now. I can't think for myself. So it's fantastic that this Russiagate is really being blown up. I'm hearing that Rachel Maddow's ratings have gone down, which are good. Stop watching that nonsense. Stop watching it. Look what he said. Russia and China were propagandized to be our allies in World War II, and then after World War II, if you watch the history, the untold history of the United States, the Oliver Stone series on Netflix, you'll see why we did that. Then the capitalists went, wait a minute, this communism isn't good for business, so we need to now demonize them. We outspend the next 7 countries combined militarily. The next 7 countries combined. And now I'm seeing stories that just sound like they did in the 80s. Oh, the Russians have a new rocket. We got to get a rocket just as bad as theirs, just as good. We got a rocket. It's like the end of Dr. Strangelove. So I'm glad you guys come here because I connect the dots. That's what I do here. I find the truth and I connect the dots, unlike CNN, which just bold-faced lies and says, we're not investigators, we're journalists. What do you, don't even say, then just say you're an entertainment reporter. That's like ESPN. Well, we don't talk sports. We just report the scores. We don't investigate if this team cheated or that guy. No, we just report what happened. Oh, then why don't you report about climate change? Why don't you do that, CNN? Oh, right, you can't because you're busy pushing this nonsense. 60% of Americans don't have $500 to $1,000 in savings. They don't give a damn about Russia. And now we were all proven correct. Waste of time and money. What if Rachel Maddow and everyone at CNN were pushing Green New Deal, screaming? What if she was screaming at the top of her lungs, the way she was doing that crazy Glenn Beck whiteboard blah, 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 about the environment? If the media treated the climate collapse that we are currently in as severely as the scientists are, and we're screaming from the mountaintops like, hey, there's a meteor coming, we need to do, that's what's happening. There's a meteor coming to our planet and it needs to be talked about. But no, Russia, and then they still can't admit it. We released a full report and they're still, it's unbelievable. They have no ethics, they have no scruples, they have no nothing. They have no nothing. So when you support me, you're allowing more people to get this message out. In 2 years, we went from 164 subscribers to over 17,000. That's because of you. We started getting a handful of Patreon dollars. Now we're starting to make decent money. I'm going to upgrade the lights. That's because of you. So if you're new to this channel, join us. Hit the subscribe button. YouTube is unsubscribing people. Support me at the Patreon. Come to a progressive comedy tour show on the road. All my tour dates are at Graham Elwood. Support me. Follow me on social media. Everything you need is at grahamelwood.com. There's a P.O. box. There's a lot of ways to support what we're doing so that we can just keep pointing out how ridiculous these are and get the truth out and share the videos on your social media. Wake up your own friends and family. I'll tell you what, I've said this before. I might get it wrong. You might not even agree with me, but know that I'm coming to my decisions honestly. No corporation is telling me what I can and cannot say. This is just so I can hear the playback. That's all that's for. Nobody's in my ear. And if I get it wrong, I'll admit it. I'll admit I got it wrong. And if there's something we don't agree on, no big deal. Just know I want the world to be a better place. I want to end war. I want workers' rights. I want a Green New Deal. I want equality for people. That's where I'm coming at. We might disagree on how to get there, but I'm coming honestly. Boeing isn't paying me $7 million a year like Rachel Maddow to spew bullshit to help push us into World War III with another superpower. How reckless is that? And then you can't even cop to that you were full of shit? You soulless weasels. Thanks for watching. My name is Graham Elwood. You're all making Gotham great again.